Well, we are reunited here on the Limitless Leadership Lounge. I am John Gehring, joined as always by Coach Jim Johnson and Dr. Ranuma Kareem, who's out in Bangladesh today, joining us internationally. And that's what we love about our show is not only are we helping the young and emerging leaders here in the U.S., where the majority of our listener base is, but all over the world. We've had an international audience, likely in part in thanks to Dr. Kareem. If you've been enjoying our show, whether it be here in America or all over the world, please leave us a review up on your favorite podcast platform. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So, Coach, we also got introduced to this really, really cool guy who I'm excited to dive into. We're talking about connecting today. We're talking about his book and so much more. So, Coach, go ahead and introduce our guest, Devin.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Our good friend Ben Albert introduced us to Devin, and I had a chance to chat with him in virtually, and I really impressed with what he's doing. So I'm going to share a little bit about Devin. Driven by a passion for meaningful experiences, both personally and professionally, he has spent his career building and growing businesses that align with his values, from launching his first marketing agency right out of college to creating an innovative consulting practices in a cat cafe, which I think I will ask a question about. My journey has been defined by a commitment to adding value and making a positive impact. He is the author of The Connection and Expansion, which I'll show in just a moment. I read the book and it was awesome. In addition, he has a passion for storytelling. He's conducted expert interviews a while and enjoys learning from other people, digging into unique stories, and sharing these stories with the world. He also works with a million dollar author. He loves speaking and motivating others. And when he's not working or doing any of what I shared, you can finally likely find him on a golf course, spending time with the family, or traveling. So from Nevada, Reno, Nevada, which you think of Las Vegas is usually pretty warm, but in Reno, Devin shared with us it's a little chilly there today. But Devin, we're going to warm it up for both of us because it's chilly and where we are in Rochester, New York. So welcome to the Limitless Leadership Lounge.
So good to be here with all of you. Thank you for having me. And yeah, just based on our quick conversation before we hit record, I'm really excited to dive in. And I know, Coach, we've had some great conversations. And yeah, it's nice to meet everybody else. And yeah, excited to share some value with the listeners.
Excellent. So we're looking forward to. Well, we are going to dive in. We don't always do this right away, but we're going to do it this time. And that is the book. I got an opportunity to read that book, and I really was impressed. In fact, I've been taking some of the ideas. But obviously, we can't spend an hour talking about the book. But so let's synthesize. I know it's a step process in connecting. Can you share a little bit about what people would get from reading the book, the connection expansion?
Yeah, definitely. So I've spent the last 15 years dialing in a system that makes you the authority in rooms where you don't have competition. And there is an art, a science, and a system to make that a reality. And this book is my very transparent way of teaching that to the world. And so this is not a hype book where I'm going to tease you and then lead you to something later. This is a book that literally walks you through the theory, the principles, the steps, the templates, the language, everything you need to be able to implement a system where you can stop cold calling, you can build your network strategically, and you can generate way more results than the cold calling, marketing, and other things you're doing right now to build your business. So that's what's in the book. Like I said, it's the whole system from the questions for networking, how to follow up, when to follow up, the scripts to use, what a connection meeting is, how to add value to your network, how to nurture long term. It's all of it.
Very good. And so we also heard you on a Real Business Connections show with Ben Albert, and I know you have a good relationship with him too. And you talked a lot about your formula for connecting and particularly the three connection whole formula. Could you tell us a little bit about that and why that's so effective, especially for young leaders just growing their careers?
Yeah, it's a mindset shift that really aligns with prosperity, right? And so let's get into the like real fun conversation because I think we talk surface level so much. The reason we do three connections, and if you can do that with everyone you meet, is it forces you to listen. It forces you to ask good questions. It forces you to be able to edify the people you're meeting, and it gives you permission to follow up, right? And everything about it has nothing to do with your product or service, right? It has to do with you truly showing up for people, being innately curious, and adding value as quick, fast, and often as you can. And adding value in a relationship is how we deepen relationships quickly, especially in a virtual world. Like if you're doing stuff out of market, you're not face to face, belly to belly, sitting in a coffee shop, you have to find other ways to add value quickly so you can deepen the relationships fast, right? Having a book helps, but really adding the connections and making those, that's the best. And then the best part about it is you're adding value to both parties, right? Because you're connecting people who can strategically align or do JVs or integrated offers. And then again, you have permission to follow up. So 3 weeks later, you get permission to check in with both parties and say, hey, how are those introductions? And so now instead of having this network where you have a meeting, you don't follow up, they don't follow up, they become a contact in your database that you never talked to. Now you have a system where you meet someone, 24 hours later, you're adding value. 3 weeks later, you have permission to check in, and then you move them into a 6 week nurture cycle. No one in your network goes cold. And that lays the foundation for long-term success. People reaching out to you, people connecting you, people advocating on your behalf, people inviting you to stuff that you can't get invited to. And for the young listeners who might just be starting their journey, getting the internships you want, finding the job with no competition. We're talking six-figure job offers with no competition. It's just you because you have found yourself as the authority in a room where no one else is playing. That might mean a business situation. It might mean an internship job opportunity. It might mean a nonprofit getting a 6, 7, 8, 9-figure check that they didn't know existed. So that's really what we're trying to chase. And that's why connections are the foundation of the system.
So wonderful that you are talking about connection in this era where we are connected with everybody through Facebook and other social media. But still, I find many of the Gen Zs are not being able to form that strong bond or relationship with each other. Still, they're in their own silos. So, for those Gen Zers, how can we convince them and make them understand the how the power of connections is so important for success in your life in our lives? So, can you give some tidbits to the Gen Zs who are listening to us, like why connection is important for success?
Yeah, so let's just use there's two ways I'll answer this. One will be statistically, and then one I can read a list. Both are fascinating. So let's just start with statistics because I like stats. So let's talk about January just for myself. So this has nothing to do with anyone I coach, mentor, none of the people that I'm working with. This is just my metrics. I had 52 meetings in January, so that's 52 meetings with people I didn't know. I made 98 connections following those meetings. I received 27 connections in January. Again, 27 new people I get to meet and connect with. 7 of those connections were direct leads for my core product and service that I was offering. 3 of those ended up closing in the month of January. 2 webinars recorded, 9 podcasts recorded, 1 event attended that I was invited to that was sold out. And we booked 11 upcoming events, 3 of which were sponsors and events that don't have sponsors. 100% of that is built on the system. 0% of that is cold calling, cold outreach, marketing funnels, brand awareness. It's none of that. Do I do all that stuff? Yes. But all the stats I just listed, that's just a result of the system built on the back of connections. And so if you were out there looking to hyper grow a business, this will build the foundation, right? This will give you the same success you're trying to achieve elsewhere. And then, as promised, I want to read this because I think this is fascinating. So these are real things that have happened with people in my network. So I did a what if statement section in the book. So I'm just going to share it. So whether you're a business owner, a young entrepreneur, a spouse of someone, all these things are real outcomes from using the system. So what if you never had to market for an open position at your company because your network filled that position for you? What if you could launch a business for 50% of what it should cost because of the untapped value in your network? That goes back to our cat cafe, which we could talk about. What if you could save money and have a better experience while traveling, right? Free hotels, free rooms, Airbnbs, invites to exclusive events, all that happens. What if you were invited to exclusive invite-only opportunities where there's no other way into the room? You can't buy a ticket, right? You can't go online and get it, but you somehow end up in that opportunity or that room. What if you can get a $125,000 a year job offer, not have to compete for it? What if you can secure an ideal internship without having to apply? You get invited, you get asked to join. What if you could find an attorney, right, who typically is booked out They'll take a call in 24 minutes, work on your case in 72 hours, and solve the problem for you. Attorneys don't do that. You know why they do that? Because you were referred in and you have a great network. What if you could search for service providers just in your database and instantly they take your call, you get better pricing and better service? All of these are a sample of the outcomes of just having good connections.
Wow,
Right.
really
And
powerful.
sorry, I just remember, Devin, how did you become such a great connector? I have to ask this question. Sorry, coach.
No, that's
No,
But
yeah, yeah,
like,
let's do
what
it.
are
Yeah.
the skills? Yeah, what are the skills? How did you develop the skills? Like consciously or subconsciously becoming such a great connector?
Yeah. So first, I want to let everyone know that's listening. If you're an introvert or extrovert, the system works. So if you're scared of going to networking events and scared of rooms, great. You'll probably actually do better than an extrovert because you'll listen more and ask good questions.
Mm,
Extroverts tend to talk too much and overcrowd the conversation. So uh, I was lucky, right, that I have a journalism degree and I learned how to ask really good questions, and I love
mm,
storytelling. What I found when we network, right, is none of us enjoy the experience really because there's so many used car salesmen in networking events, right? You go in and they're just shoving business cards at you and everyone's trying to sell something. And so I said, you know what? I don't want to do that. And so I went on this mission to one, control what I can control. So everything in the system and everything I do has to be inside of my control. I will never benchmark myself or my success with things I can't control. So that's key to it. The other thing is just truly focusing on my core value, which is helping others, and knowing that the law of getting things back, right, you got to put it out. And so many people are focusing on the getting things back part without the giving part. And so I think if you combine this innate curiosity, the journalism questions, the passion for helping people, and this focus on systems and controlling what you can control, that lays the foundation, which I've perfected and then continue to perfect. We're still changing language to optimize return. We're still changing how frequently we follow up and what the subject looks like. We're still adding in scripts for what happens if you forgot to follow up with someone and how do you re-engage and have a real conversation. Like all these things are still getting dialed in because it's an organic system that has to adapt to current technology, current focus trends, things like that. But the good news is everyone can do it, whether you're confident, not confident, introvert, extrovert, it doesn't matter. It's a system.
It's well said, and something you said, and I kid people because I do a lot of leadership presentations, and I think effective leaders are the CQAs, the chief question askers. And with that in mind, can you give us a couple? I want to jump into the cat cafe, but I got to ask this question first. Is that can you give us a couple a sample of questions, that we can delve to help people with their networking and connecting, beyond the famous "How are you doing?" and those types of things. Can you give us a few examples that would be helpful for the audience?
Yeah, most definitely. So there's two series of moments where questions are really important. The first is when you're at a networking event or a first meeting opportunity, right? In the book, I even tell a story about doing this at a birthday party. So the questions I'm going to share work whether you're at a coffee shop, a structured networking event, a virtual summit, or a birthday party. The second set of questions is when you get into what I call a connection meeting. Again, this is not a sales meeting. This is a get to know you meeting. There is a formula for success there. That's another set of questions. So let's start with the networking side because that's the side where I think a lot of people really struggle. When networking, I use the same four questions. I've used the same four questions forever. I teach the four questions. And if you ever get asked the four questions, it's because it's someone I worked with. And in the Reno market, it became really funny because we would go to networking events, and I've trained so many people in this market that you would have people look across the room and be like, "Yeah, you worked with Devin, didn't you?" Right? Because they would start to hear the flow. And so in networking, a couple things for success. You want to control the conversation and ask the questions first, right? Because that's going to get you in and out of the conversation. Second, you need to get out of the conversation. So if you can stick to a four question script, the person you're talking to will probably ask you the same four questions. So now you only need to know how to answer four questions. And there's a natural close to the conversation. So it gives you kind of this nice wrapped up moment where you can move on to the next conversation instead of getting stuck at an hour networking event in a 30-minute conversation. So four questions. Here they are. First is what do you do? That's the obvious one, right? We have to understand what the person we're talking to does because that's going to give us the premise for are they an owner? Are they a professional? Are they a salesperson? Are they a service provider? What industry? So much gets answered in that one question. Next, we ask, how long have you been doing that? This is a really critical question that gets missed so often. but it's such a good qualifier because it tells us how experienced they are if they're transitioning. And so, based on their answer, if they've been doing something for under a year, we ask about the past. Hey, that's awesome. What'd you do before? How'd you end up here? Because now we're mining for additional data in their previous life, right? Their previous network, previous experience. Where's their real expertise at? Because the new thing they're doing is a new expertise, right? Their network's probably not very mature there. They're still learning. If they've been doing it over a year, I'll say a statement like, man, coach, you must love what you do. And then they're going to answer one of two ways. They're either going to say yes, and they're going to passionately talk about what they do. So now 3 questions in, you have the person passionately talking about themselves and what they do. That's a memory hook, and it makes you stand out. Or they're going to admit that they're stuck, which is the other side. And they're going to be like, you know what? No, I'm just stuck in this. Actually, I don't enjoy it. I'm here. And they'll start complaining, which is great because somehow you just became a friend in 3 questions, right? Because that's what friends do. And then the fourth question, you always want to ask about how you can help the other person. That question has different flavors based on your personality. But if you're at a business event, it's typically, hey, what's a great connection or great referral for you? If you're at a birthday party, it might be like, hey, what are you looking for that I could help solve? Like, what do you need? Do you need a cat sitter, a babysitter, a what? Like, your car got totaled, you need a body shop. What do you need and how can I help? Has to be your last question. When you ask that question, make sure you get their contact information so that you can follow up because that's the part where you control the system. So there's your 4 questions. There's a whole bunch of psychology behind why we ask them. But if you ask the 4, you'll know enough to know how to follow up and get people into a connection meeting.
Let's dive into that fourth question too, because I think that's where a lot of people go wrong in connecting. Obviously, you would think that you want introductions to your ideal client, right? Or is there sometimes a better introduction for you to make or for you to receive in a connection?
Yeah, such a good question. So, yes, in a general networking event where we're just meeting people for the first time, their answer will be something client specific, which is fine because that's what the world has told us to ask for is we want to ask for clients. Matter of fact, I was scrolling through social this morning and like all the coaching on sales for referrals is about asking clients for clients, right? So that's fine. That's what you will get at a networking event. Now, for you, once you're equipped with the system and you understand why, we don't answer with that. And here's the problem. So the quote I tell everyone to put down, and we talked about this on Ben's show as well, right? And I talk about it every time is everybody wants to buy, nobody wants to be sold. We are a consumer society. And so stop trying to hard sell everybody. Everybody is positioned to buy. You need to make it easy to buy. And yes, there are skills and techniques that make it easier, but you don't need to force people to buy. The other side too is if you say, hey, this is my ideal person and it's a client type, and I go, okay, great. I'm now profiling my database going, who do I know that could buy your product or service? The timing's right. I think they have the money and I'm okay positioning them to you for you to sell to them. That's a lot of barriers for a connection, not to mention we're positioning people to be sold. It goes back to the quote. If instead, and we'll use real estate as an example, if I ask a realtor, who do you want to connect with? They either going to answer with their ideal client type. If they're savvy, they're going to then go up a level and they're going to say, I want to meet mortgage lenders or insurance agents. It's always the same 2 buckets. Great. Guess what? Every other realtor wants to meet the same things, right? So now even though you went up and you feel savvy, right? And it's easier for me to connect you to those people. We're just competing with the same things. Instead, a realtor could say, I'm looking for in-home sales providers, people who door knock and end up in people's homes selling them something, doors, windows, appliances. It doesn't matter. They're in people's homes selling. I want to meet those people because we can have collaborative conversations. Plus, I need those people for my clients. Now I can go through my list and be like, yeah, I know like 14 of those people. And now it's easy for me to make an introduction because there's no friction, right? There's no art of sale. There's no positioning needed. No, it's like, hey, John, I want to introduce you to Coach. Here's why. I think you guys are probably selling to the same people. You should probably talk. And now you can have a strategic conversation. It makes it easier for me to add value and make the connection. So as we get deeper into this process and we really work on language, that unlocks a whole nother level to the system and allows you to make these connections with no friction.
That's the key. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Renuma, I know you have a question.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved when I was going through your LinkedIn profile that you were mentioning curiosity, and also you want to learn about people. And that is a problem that I have as well. My family always complain that I'm always talking to strangers everywhere, in the plane, in the car, everywhere. And then I end up being friends. And interestingly, there was one person who I befriended in the plane in the long 20 hours trip, and through him I found one of my asset, one of the main strongest core executive member of my nonprofit. You never know, sometimes surprises without any intention. When you are open to meet people without any agenda, you can be surprised. So my question to you is, what are these elements when you are going to this network sessions and things like that? Do you always have an agenda in your mind? But what is your technique? How do you really connect? How important is empathy or genuineness and all those emotion to connect and build those relationships?
Yeah, this is fun. Again, yeah, this conversation is already so good. So first, let me talk about that experience you had on the plane, right? So when I was writing the book, I had a different subtitle, and it was something like duplicatable systematic approach to grow your referral network, or something really technical that was amazing because it's what it does. And then I got feedback that said, like, yeah, that's what it does, but that's not what it does. Because what the system actually does, and the reason why the subtitle changed, is you are one connection away from massive success in your life and business. I want to plant that seed that you don't know. You have no clue what that one connection is. You have no clue where you're going to find it. You cannot gamify that and have a guarantee. Again, you can't control that. What you can control is not shooting yourself in the foot before you start. And so when we talk about going to an event, the first thing I tell people, and I do this in rooms all the time, and I'll ask the room, when you go to a networking event, what's your goal? And usually a part of the room is going to answer with to meet prospective clients, or to find opportunities, or to fill my pipeline. And then one smart person in the room is going to be like, to meet people. Great.
Mm,
That's it. What I first need you to do is just commit. Next, you need to get out of the car and open the door and pat yourself on the back that you actually went into the event.
mm,
And then that's it. All you need to do the rest of the time is just have good conversations. Ask the 4 questions, gather people's contact information. That's what you can control. Actively listen. Don't be distracted. Don't be looking around the room. Ask the 4 questions, answer the 4 questions they're going to ask you, move out of the conversation, move to the next one. At a networking event, that's all we're trying to capture. Now, when we fast forward to a connection meeting where we're really digging deeper into the relationship, if we're in a 30-minute meeting, 25 minutes of the meeting is you asking questions, the other person answering. If you're in an hour meeting, it's about 45 to 50 minutes is you asking questions, the other person answering. You should only be talking about yourself in the last 5 to 10 minutes at most. And what's
mm.
crazy is you will close more deals in that last 5 to 10 minutes than you can fathom if you do the first part correct. And so when we go in there, there's a formula for that. And we teased it earlier, but this will really go to your question, because this is where we start to show we're curious and we're empathetic. First, I want to know everything about today. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? Who are you selling to? What's your goals? Because that really helps me understand you today. I always then go to the past. Tell me your story. Now, that question alone subconsciously is telling the person you're talking to that you are way more curious and different than everyone else they talk to. Because I actually want to know, how'd you get here? Like, why the heck are the two of us sitting here and you're a pest control business owner? Like, how did that happen? Because I know as a little kid, you didn't go, I want to kill pests for a living, right? So tell me the story and then shut up and listen, right? Like, let's actually listen to the answer and take notes. If you don't have a notepad in front of you and you're not taking notes, or you're not typing on your keyboard, you're not listening. So take notes.
Mm.
Then we talk about the future. I always go from there to, where are you going? Paint the biggest dream. And then while they're doing that, you have to agree. You have to respond with excitement. Like, John, I love that that's what you're doing. I'm so fired up for you. That's amazing. Because I believe that. Like, I'm so excited for what everyone is doing every day in their life. And I want you to achieve that, because I know if you achieve your goal, you're going to impact the community, your family, and all of your employees if you're a business owner. And then the last thing we always do is we ask, what's in the way? Because that's where we start to really decide, have we earned enough trust in the last 20 minutes or 40 minutes for you to be open and honest. And that's the gauge of if I've done a good meeting. Because at that point, if you open up and say, you know what? You know what's in my way? This, and this. If they open up and they're that transparent in the very first meeting you're having with them, you already have a relationship. And now we just need to add value and do what we can do. And so again, there's a formula for that. But the formula is all about the other person. It's all about asking about today, asking about the past, asking about the future, supporting their future, and then solving problems with the challenges that they share. Again, if they don't share challenges, you probably haven't asked or gone deep enough in the conversation yet.
Right. And I think that's why Maya Angelou said that where people will not remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. So through that communication and asking question, that feeling, the emotion, I think those really matter when you are building those connections and relationships.
Yeah, I want to be your biggest advocate today, period. I want
Mm,
your meeting with me. I want you to leave and be like, damn, that guy believed in me. Yes, I did. And I
yeah.
do. And I believe in you so much. I'm going to make connections to help you. I'm going to give you tools to support you. And yes, if my product or service aligns, yes, I'm going to help you and I'll sell that to
Mm,
you. But I just want to advocate for you, right? The young lady I met with yesterday, she sent me an email before I got home. Like this was an in-person meeting. Before I got home, she emailed me thanking me for the meeting and thanking me for empowering her and thanking me for not selling to her and thanking me for not trying to recruit her and thanking me for giving her real tools and resources. That's what I want. That's where I know I'm succeeding. Did she buy anything yet? No. Will she? I don't know. I don't care because I controlled what I can control and I had a positive impact on that person. And I know that I can go to sleep tonight and every night knowing that the 6, 7, 8 people I met are going to feel positive and they're going to feel inspired and impacted by every conversation I'm having. That, again, I can control.
It's a great point. Devin, really impressed with so much content you've given us. But I know our listeners are on their edge of the seat to talk about the Cat Cafe. So, can you tell us the story of the Cat Cafe and then share one or two leadership lessons you learned from the Cat Cafe?
Yeah, so the Cat Cat Cafe is such a fun story. So in my friend group or my inside circle, we have a joke of what email address are you using today? Because I went through a series of a decade where yes, I've always done consulting, but I've owned a lot of random companies and businesses, and I just love business. But I remember going to my friends saying, I'm going to launch a cat cafe. And 100% of my friends being like, you're crazy. What the heck are you doing? And me going, well, I'm going to do this. So it'll be great. And what we're going to do is we're going to launch it. We're going to scale it. We're going to systematize it. And we're going to sell it. And we're going to do it in a way no one's ever done. And so the Cat Cafe, for those of you who don't know, the front of the business is a coffee shop. You can get treats and coffee. The back of the business is called the Cat Lounge. And so you can pay by hour to hang out with the cats. It's great for senior citizens who can't have cats, college students who can't have animals on campus, people whose spouse is allergic, but they still want the interaction with cats. There's a lot of mental benefits and a lot of other reasons to spend time with animals. And part of the cats that are in there are adoptable. So there's an adoption nonprofit rescue partnership in there as well. And then we had an event space. And so my wife and I, every time we travel, we visit cat cafes. And we went to one in Hollywood and we went, man, this is really crazy. I looked at it from a business standpoint and went, there's 35 people in here paying $20 to be here. They just told me they sell out 4 sessions a day. I'm doing the math going, for a coffee shop, this is actually like pretty sustainable and significant revenue. Like that's actually like a lot on a per day coffee shop turn. And then my wife, who's a mural artist, is looking around going, man, I could design this way better. And theirs was nice. Like it was very clean aesthetically, but she was like, man, we could do something really cool, make this like immersive experience. If you've ever been to Vegas in the Area 50, whatever it's called, where it's like the immersive kitchen art experience, it's that concept. So we went on that and we went, hey, we want to invest and I like business. And so we came back and chased down a commercial property. 45 days after that, we opened the doors. So for those of you, let's reemphasize that. In 45 days, we opened a full-fledged retail business with all of our certificates and approvals with the health department and everyone, which trust me, there's some fun conversations there. And we sold the business after 6 months of being open to an employee, and they're still in business today. They've rebranded and launched a nonprofit to support the business. So I'm not sure how many of those things break traditional business logic, but it's all of them because the fact that we opened a retail business in 45 days for under 60 grand and then sold the business in 6 months to an employee who paid us off early and is still in business, that there's so much there that had to be done right. And that's what we were trying to prove. We were trying to prove that we could go into an industry that we've never owned ourselves. I've done a lot of consulting in that space. We could do it in a time frame and a budget that didn't really make sense. We could do huge launch and then we could sell it and empower that employee to succeed into the future. That's amazing. And so going to your leadership question, it's interesting because I have been in corporate and I've had six-figure teams that everyone on my team makes six-figure and is the best at what they do. And then in the coffee shop world, we're talking about general retail, right? We're talking about first jobs, second jobs, unless you're getting to the management level. We did pay really well. We gave our team a lot of other benefits and relationship things. But at the end of the day, your team will succeed depending on how empathetic you are and how well your processes are designed. And so for us, we built a machine, right? There were no questions. Everything was documented. The opening checklist, the closing checklist, how you greet people, the scripts you use, what you wear, it's all done. And then we love on our employees, right? So we give them a budget to buy shirts that they're happy to wear that are cat themed, and we buy meals for the team every week, and we do some of those things, and we have daily stands up. So there's constant communication. We do weekly team meetings where the whole team comes in and we feed them and have great conversation. We do enhancement and training for the team. Like we love on the team, and that's always been my approach. And it's just exactly how I build networks, right? And we get to know our team members. And so, yeah, fascinating business. So many cool things came out of it. So many amazing challenges too that we didn't foresee, but we overcame. And just a cool business project. And it's an amazing business, and it does a lot of good in the community as well.
In all your time in business, Devin, and also connecting in general, I can imagine there's been a lot of frustrations and a lot of connections that, oh, you make it sound so easy, right? 30-minute call, you ask people a lot of questions, and then, like, boom, there you go, right? But I'm sure there's some frustrating times too, where there are times where you felt like you've wasted your time on this particular connection or maybe this particular business idea. What do you do in those moments? Or do you ever consider anything, any connection, any idea a waste of time?
Yeah, so let me answer two parts of that question separately. So there's value in every connection. It's one of my core principles, and I will stand on that. That does not mean that every person I meet with will be someone long term where there's value. Because if they're a taker, so meaning that they won't make connections or not trying to do anything other than sell, they won't value the connections I send to them. Like but they're going to get the same experience as everybody else, right? Like I'm still going to ask the questions, I'm still going to make the connections, I'm still going to nurture them. I just may not want to pull them into my world more than that because the takers can be toxic to the network, right? Because they're not going to go out there and advocate and add value, which is such a core mission to what I'm trying to do. So I do stand on the belief that there's value in everything. Since I've done presentations 15 years ago in front of rooms, my last slide was always a cup of coffee. And my invite was I'll meet with anyone to talk about anything. And it's still a true statement. And I will still do it today. I will still meet with the college kid who just wants to pick my brain. I don't care. I will meet with you and talk to you, and we will have a great conversation. Now, flipping to the other side. Yes, I have made millions and I've lost millions. Actually, in the span of a 90-day period, both of those were true statements. I have destroyed relationships in business. I have made amazing relationships in business. I have been sued. I have had to sue. So yes, I can give you all of the stories from what it's like to be extremely successful and have everything you want to making a ton of bad decisions and bad hires and losing it all. To a business partner that extorted the whole business and drug the investors into the ditch. And the one business partner got cancer. He died. The other business partner married his wife. I can give you stories that will blow your mind when it comes to business, but I'm still here. And so what my message to people listening is there is nothing that's only going to be positive. There's no business. I've never met an entrepreneur. I've never met anyone in the business world who hasn't been hit by a bus. And at some point, the bus will hit you. And so if it hasn't, prepare for it. And the way you prepare for it is you have a very clear future vision because you need something to anchor on in the future. and you need a support system. So your spouse is your first line of defense. An amazing spouse will get you very far. And your inner circle is critical. You need mentors, coaches, masterminds in an inner circle that when you are at your worst and you want to quit, and quitting could be very dark. This could be a very dark quitting conversation. You need to be able to call someone who can speak life back into you. And you need to be that for other people too. But I have made those calls. I have sat there in the car and had to call someone and just wept and said, I'm done. I quit. I quit. I quit it all. I quit all of it. This is not just a I quit my business conversation. This is like I quit life conversation. And I've let my mentors go, no, Devin, you're doing it. You're okay, right? We're here. And I'm even getting emotional talking about it because those are the dark moments I don't think we talk about enough in business. But every entrepreneur and every business owner has those moments where they just want to give up. And if you're listening to this right now and that's a mode you think you're in, look, let me be the person. I believe in you. Your friends may not, your family may not. Shit, your spouse might think you're crazy today. I believe in you. I believe in what you're chasing. And as long as you're being authentic and you're actually trying to help people, then go chase it. And yes, the world will run you over with the bus, but you're going to get back up and guess what? You'll be okay.
Right. And this is such a powerful statement. And I believe all those challenges made you more stronger and resilient. You also learned about things that you should do and you should avoid. So, from my life experience, when each challenges come, like, oh, so this is where I went wrong, and I need to modify and change things. So, I think those are the blessed time where we become stronger to deal with our life and come and be resilient. My the last question to you, referrals. I have seen the many people asking me for referrals in the LinkedIn, whom I never even knew. So I'm not interested in giving referrals to those individuals. But there are some people who come out, I met once, but something stuck. Their conversation, the way they approached, even the way they asked for a referral, and that convinces me like this person is worth my referrals. So, some tips to all those who are seeking referrals. What should they do and what should they avoid when they want somebody to give them good reference?
Yeah. So first, one of the core principles is train by doing. And
Mhm.
so many people ask before they've given. That's not a formula for success. And so if
Mhm.
you want connections and referrals, if you want that to be your reality, then you need to generate that, right? I find it's a 3-to-1 ratio. So three that I give, one that I get back. That's a perfect ratio for me because I know the game, right? I know that if I do
Mhm.
100, I get 30. That's very predictable. That's exciting to me. That's first. Second, the ask is always wrong. And we talked about that earlier, John, with your question, right? They're asking for like this direct sale. However, if they were to reach out and say, like, Devin, look, I know you're networking and I saw you were on XYZ podcast and I really appreciate what they did. Like, could you introduce me to that person? Because I'd love to have a strategic conversation. The answer is yes, right?
Mhm.
Because you're not asking me to position you to sell to someone, especially if I don't know you. But if you reach out and say, like, hey, Devin, I saw you were at that women's event the other day. I would love to engage with that. I do a lot of work with nonprofits. Could you connect me with the person who hosts that? Yes. Yes, I could. Right. Or
Mhm.
Devin, I know you go to a ton of events and you're on a ton of stages. I'm trying to be on stages too. Like, could you just like share a couple events or maybe have a couple event hosts that maybe I could just connect with? Cause I just love to be on more stages. Sure. Right. Again, all those asks are educated asks, specific asks, and they're not to be sold. They're not positioning you to be
Right.
sold. And then the other part of this is why the heck are you doing that on a first meeting, anyways, or a first touch? I LinkedIn, I did book one. It's like one a month, maybe I'll actually book messages, and I probably get 300 to 500 messages a month. But all the messages start good. And this is where they do great, right? Like the first touch is always like, oh, I see we're connected with a lot of few people. Let's connect. Yeah, I'll connect with everyone. That's fine. And then the next message is always, hey, this is what I do. Is that something you'd like to talk about? Like, oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Like, just stop. Instead, the next message should be an educated thing saying, like, hey, I saw you do this, or I see this on your website, or I see you wrote this book. I'm innately curious about that. Like, could we connect and just chat?
Mhm.
Sure. Are they going to sell to me on the call? Yes. But at least they'll book a call and I will reward them with a meeting because at least they were sort of genuine in their outreach, right? And then on the meeting, I'll let them sell to me and then I'll just push them back into my 4 questions. I'll control the meeting and we'll add value, right? But there's some tips around that for asking for referrals. I think you can get so much further if you stop just chasing the client today and the short-sighted money and you're looking for bigger strategic asks. Your network can produce that way easier for you. And then just do some research. Like educated asks will generate way more results than uneducated general asks.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Devin, my final question, I had a bunch of questions, but unfortunately we're running out of time, but we appreciate your great insights today. Is that I saw that you have done some work with college students on social media marketing. And social media is so big. And I'm curious, can you give us a couple tips on what you taught students to help them be more effective in the social media?
Yeah, so super fun. Yes, I was an adjunct professor and I taught social media marketing at Sierra Nevada University, which is now rebranded to another university name. Having a marketing agency, I get asked marketing questions a lot. I love playing in the social media field, and it was fun. It was fun to design a course. So I fully designed the course and what we covered. And what I would tell you is you cannot be an expert on a platform you're not on. And so that's the first thing. And I always use Facebook or Meta as the core metric, right? They still have the biggest user by like a huge number. Yet most of the younger generation doesn't play there anymore. Yet they want to leverage social media for success. Well, why would you not be on the 9 bazillion pound gorilla where everybody else is playing, right? So the first message is like you got to be on the platforms that you're trying to either use or understand. So do I have a TikTok account? Yes. Am I on it all the time? Yes. Why? Because I'm looking for what are the trends? What's working? What videos are getting engagement? What are they asking? Is it the game videos? Is it the top 10 list videos? Is it reshares? Is it like what are the things? And then actually pay attention, right? The other advice I give people is steal it. We were in my connection group last week, and it's funny. I said this, and one of my buddies is in there, and he's like, "No, no, no, it's best practices, right? You're looking for best practices." I'm like, "Yeah," and then steal it. So every time I'm in front of a college class, I call it plagiarism, right? You go to college, and it's like, "Don't plagiarize. It's so bad. It's whatever." Then you get in the business world, and it's like, "That's all you should be doing, right?" Look for people who are doing amazing stuff, borrow that idea, repurpose it into your world and use it. So social media, that's the best. And so what I did every week is I would have the students go on to 2 different platforms and share a post that worked and a post that didn't work and why. Like visually, this post didn't work and had no engagement, even from big brands. Or this post was really interesting, got a ton of engagement, and then why they believe that. Because that's what we're looking for, right? We have to become an art of the game that we're trying to play, or a student of the game that we're trying to play. And so you've got to engage with it, learn from it, and then you can teach it, work with it, or integrate it into your own marketing.
Yeah. So I know, Devin, that you're doing a lot to kind of redefine connecting, redefine what it is for, people to go to networking events and stuff like that. So can we just, as we wrap up here, and then certainly I want to ask you a couple more things first about your book and then about your connection group, but what would you, if you were to give a concise definition of how you see connecting and networking, what would it be?
Yeah, connecting is simply meeting people. That's it. It's just the art of going out there and meeting people. And that's where it stops. It always tries to become more. And that's where it usually starts to go wrong when we're trying to sell or force it. In the book, we talk about the definition between referral and connection. And I think it's an important distinction, right? A referral typically is someone that's a prospective client that's teed up to you with the assumption that they're going to buy because they've expressed interest, right? So there's a lot of qualifiers. A connection is simply one person connecting with another with no assumptions and no intent. Now, the better you can edify someone and the more aligned you can tee up the connection to have a common conversation and have some intent, great. But the intent's not to sell. And so I think when it comes to networking and building relationships, just meet people. Just meet people. Now, if you are meeting a lot of people and it's not generating results, then we have to explore what are the conversations you're having? What's your follow up look like? How are you nurturing? Are you training by doing? Are you following the other core principles? There's a lot of questions, right? But if we can just start with this idea of meeting more people and get your calendar filling up and get more people into your network in your sphere, then we can optimize that and we can work on it. But
Sure.
until then, who cares? Right?
Right.
Like if you don't have 12 meetings a week that you're not getting success from, start by getting 12 meetings a week, right? Once you get the 12 a week, yes, we can have conversations about how to get more out of them. But right now, most, if not the majority of people listening to this, don't have full calendars. And if they do, it's full of stuff that's not significant. So why not just meet some more people and fill your calendar? Then again, we can optimize it. We can control the metrics that we can control, and I can teach you how to do that. But for now, just fill your calendar, meet a lot of amazing people, and then actually enjoy it.
Mm. Nothing against BNI or LinkedIn or any of the other, but I think we're somewhat doing it all wrong. And if we were to take your approach, I think we would be much more successful and much more authentic, more importantly, in our connections. That's the key. Devin, I know you have a great book that Coach held up earlier. You also have a group too. How can we learn more about you and potentially get in touch?
Appreciate that. Yeah. So Connection Expansion book, that's the book up here. It's the one Coach held up. So you can grab it on Amazon, paperback, hardcover, ebook, and there's an audiobook if you want to listen to me for an hour and 54 minutes, talk through the whole book. You can. I did narrate it, and don't hold that against me. Um, all the other stuff's on my website. So devinsizemore.com, Devin, size then more.com. Yes, I host the ACES Connection group. And so if you want to build your network strategically, whether you're a college kid, a billionaire, or somewhere in between, come hang out with us. We have amazing professionals. And collectively, we are a group of givers that are strategically building each other's network. And the one thing I'll share about the group that we don't usually talk about is we do a personal win and a professional win to start. That's the magic of the group because that's where we build real relationships virtually really quick. Yes, we make dozens of connections and amazing things happen, but it's real people, real connections, and there's nothing else. There's no positions I need you to hold. There's no metrics we're holding you to. There's no random drama in the group. It is simply show up, get out what you put in, and meet cool people.
Wow. So more information, Devin Sizemore, his site down in the show notes, as well as a link to that book too, that you can pick up and learn more. Devin, we've learned so much from you, and we're excited to stay connected and see how we can help each other's networks too. Devin Sizemore, thank you so much for your time today, man.
Thank you guys. Yeah, amazing questions and really enjoyed this. And we went all over the spectrum. And so hopefully the listeners got a nugget somewhere out of one of the stories and look forward to future conversation.